A person's awakening comes in 3 stages, like 3 bolts of heavenly thunder. Anyone who can break through the first 2 is already remarkable, but if you can break through the 3rd, you reach the pinnacle of human potential. These 3 bolts of thunder strike directly at the parts of your wisdom that remain unenlightened. Wherever you still need growth, that's where the lightning hits, cracking you open so the truth can come in. First thunder, breaking the emotional trap. The first thunder breaks your deep-rooted dependence on various emotional attachments. If you used to drift through life in a naive, carefree way, thinking everyone was good and everything was simple, then you'll encounter a situation or a person who deals you a heavy blow when you're at a critical moment in life. This blow reveals just how dark and limitlessly low human nature can sink. At the same time, the reactions of those closest to you, people you assumed truly understood and cared about you, will cut you to the core. Your kindness may be trampled, your fundamental worldview shattered. You might feel like you've hit rock bottom with no will to keep going. But the purpose of this painful experience is to teach you 2 important lessons. People who aren't hung up on moral judgments or the idea of total fairness are often the ones who achieve bigger things. If you stop relying on other people and emotional ties, you'll find far greater inner strength. Second thunder, breaking the empty life loop. The second thunder wakes you up from a lower level way of living, one that's stuck on autopilot. Too many people live like zombies, going through the same motions day after day. They commute between the same 3 or 4 places, never changing anything. They spend their mental energy regretting the past or worrying about the future, which drains them inside. This frog in warm water lifestyle quietly boils away the vitality and potential of a life that could have been extraordinary. When a thunderbolt comes along to jolt someone out of this trance, even if it feels like a disaster, it can also be a blessing, because it reminds them that life is short. You only get around 30,000 days in this world, so you can't afford to waste them. Anything that makes you fundamentally unhappy should stop. Ultimately, the reason we do anything isn't to endure or prolong suffering, but to find joy in being alive. Third thunder, breaking limiting beliefs. The third thunder is where most people get stuck. It shatters your rigid notions of good versus bad, right versus wrong, real versus fake, and so on. Once you can look at life from a God's eye view, you'll see that our ideas of good and evil, truth and falsehood, right and wrong, are all conditional. Change the person, the angle, or the context, and the conclusion changes too. In the TV series The Tao, the character Ding Yuanying says, "You don't know that you're you, so you are you. But once you know it, you're no longer you." Stephen Hawking once speculated, maybe we're all just lines of code in some cosmic computer program. Buddha taught, you can't jump out of this world because you haven't truly seen it. The moment you truly see it, you transcend it. In other words, the world itself has never imposed any real limits on us. We're born complete, but we set our own obstacles. Once you step outside your self-imposed box, you instantly rise above fear, worry about right and wrong, what's real or fake, and your concern over saving face. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you can do whatever feels authentic. Observe anyone or anything deeply. If you let your consciousness engage and reflect, you can gain wisdom from every experience. That's what insight really is. The reason some people's souls evolve so slowly is that they never look for lessons in their experiences. You can see individuals who've gone through enormous challenges but learn nothing because they never truly felt it or reflected on it. Consider how you watch the show The Tao. Are you just looking to pass the time, or do you sink into deep thought and get something meaningful out of it? In the end, every part of the mundane world is just a training ground for your soul. Anytime you feel stuck, anxious, or upset about something, that's your cue. You've been handed another assignment for your inner growth. Will you tackle it head-on, or will you avoid it? Thus, the soul's purpose in experiencing the human world can be summarized as to experience, to grow, and to help others. And helping others, or saving them spiritually, also helps your own soul ascend. When you give love, it's not just the other person who benefits, you do too. The more people you love, the more nourishment your own soul receives. A real-life example. Let me share a story about my cousin, my big brother, and my sister-in-law. My brother has a younger brother, older than me by 3 years, whose mindset is very childlike. Most people think he's a classic good-for-nothing. My brother didn't want to see him fail, so he brought him into his business. My cousin's sister, my older female cousin, didn't want to deal with him, so it became my brother's responsibility. This younger brother basically does nothing substantial at work, yet he still gets paid a high wage for doing almost nothing, sometimes even messing things up. Naturally, I heard my brother and sister-in-law argue about it all the time. Yet oddly enough, in handling the situation, they found themselves in total agreement, and over a few years, about 3, they figured out a way to communicate much better. Ironically, trying to help this useless younger brother actually ended up saving and strengthening their own marriage. You can call it family love or a sense of duty, but it's still an expression of love. It expanded my brother and his wife's souls, giving them a kind of spiritual nourishment. If you only aim to satisfy your own selfish needs, you stay stuck in a very small, ego-driven world, and you won't get much fulfillment in return. But when you genuinely help others evolve, the benefits and growth they experience flow right back to you. All beings suffer. Rich or poor, most people feel some form of suffering. This is what's often referred to as universal suffering. Those with money are bored or existentially unfulfilled. Those without money feel material hardship. Because they can't break free from their bodily desires, the small self, true happiness eludes them. Consider celebrities or influencers who break the law in search of thrills. Why do they do it if they're presumably so successful? If their souls felt genuine happiness, they wouldn't need external highs, like illicit behavior, to feel alive. People seek comfort in tasty food or cheap thrills, and for a moment, they feel pleasure. But afterward, it's just emptiness. I've been there. It's a bottomless pit of fleeting excitement, followed by more numbness. You might envy someone driving a fancy car, but trust me, they aren't always happy. They worry about traffic, parking, scratches. There's always something. And you see them and feel like a failure for not having the same. Look at the Buddha's story. He was a prince with limitless wealth, status, and women, yet he still found life painfully unfulfilling. So he left to find answers and reach enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Once enlightened, what did he do? He began helping others, showing them how to awaken as well. Here's the key. The very act of guiding others is itself a path to enlightenment. And the first person you truly save is you, rescuing yourself from negativity and destructive desires. Without that liberation, how can you have the clarity or energy to excel in life's bigger pursuits? As your ability grows, you can help more people. The greater your capacity, the more you can give, the more people you uplift, the more goodwill returns to you, fueling even bigger breakthroughs. That's why we say, experience, help, grow, and ultimately liberate. Those are the stages of the soul's journey, 4 words that define human life. While the soul's journey centers on experience, helping others, growth, and final liberation, human life often revolves around 4 concepts: ownership, desire, suffering, and beliefs. Ownership. I want something that I don't have. Others have it, and I feel bad comparing myself to them. Desire. I need to keep satisfying my cravings, but desire is infinite. You can never fill it. Suffering. I feel unsettled and in pain wherever I go, like I don't belong. Everything hurts. Beliefs. Human society's values often trap you. You adopt social norms as if they're the same as your soul's truths. But are you just living in human society, or also part of something bigger? The cosmic order? Your physical body lives in society, sure, but your soul doesn't have to be caged by human conventions. You're here to explore and learn. Morality and social rules keep people in a box, but they can't contain your soul. You're meant to wander through the universe, through all existence, and you can be anything or be nothing. You can be a good person or a bad person. Go up to the heavens or down to the depths. You're endlessly adaptable, with infinite wisdom. That's the essence of a higher dimensional consciousness. Your soul doesn't inherently contain human notions like morality or tradition. After all, it's just a temporary arrangement of atoms and molecules, subject to dissolve at any moment. Tying morality or social expectations to something that transient can seem absurd. So your soul should exist freely. It can be everything or nothing. It's beyond the limiting beliefs that keep most people stuck. Final thoughts. This content is derived from higher-level teachings of Qianyayin Shui, Heaven's Edge Hidden Learning. Because of certain constraints, much of the material can't be fully disclosed publicly. This wraps up our current discussion. For a more complete, systematic version, please check the original source linked on the main page.